Often seen as the woman behind the man in Washington, Julie Chaffetz is the commander-in-chief over the Chaffetz home in Alpine, Utah. While husband, Congressman Jason Chaffetz, is tackling tough topics on the evening news, Julie is a wife, mom to Kate, Max, and Ellis, a loyal friend, breast cancer patient liaison, and most recently, a planner.
We have some exciting news going on right now. Our oldest son and our oldest daughter are both engaged. So our son's getting married in March, and our daughter's getting married in May, and we're really excited.
2 weddings months apart.
Yes, 2 weddings about 5 weeks apart. And yeah, if you happen to see me walking through Costco with a frantic look on my face, just know I'm in wedding planning mode.
I love it. Jason's responsibilities keep him in Washington, D.C. most of the time, so flexibility, creative planning, and FaceTime are key to bridging the 2,000-mile gap.
So I go back to D.C. with Jason probably every few months or so. I'm back there maybe 5 or 6 times a year, and we do some other travel on top of that together. You know, I'm a firm believer that I need to be here with my kids, and that's very important, but I also need to nurture the relationship with my husband.
Born and raised in Mesa, Arizona, Julie is the youngest of 6 and a gifted musician.
At 5, I started playing the piano, and then when I was about 8 years old, I started violin. I was one of those, I grew up, I wasn't a cheerleader, I didn't do sports, but I was in orchestra.
That's awesome.
And I loved it.
You and Jason met at BYU.
Yes, and the first time we met didn't go so well. Took about a year later, and then we went on our first date, and it was amazing. It was such a fun date.
Hold on, define didn't go so well.
Well, I don't remember the first time I met him.
Okay.
So I guess it didn't go so well. He claims he did, that he asked me out, but I don't really remember.
Okay, but sparks flew a year later.
Yeah, a year later, timing's everything, you know, things worked out, and actually our first date was pretty fun. He took me to watch the evening news taped. Then we went, which I had never seen before. You know, I'd never done something like that. Then we went to get frozen yogurt afterwards.
Okay.
And afterward, you know, then he took me home. And I was thinking about the day. I was like, that was actually really fun. I had a good time. And then I realized he did not spend one dime on that date. He's always been about doing more with less.
That approach worked for her. The two celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary this month. This year brought a new purpose and passion for Julie. She works part-time as a patient liaison, offering support and education to women undergoing reconstructive surgery after breast cancer.
I get to meet and interact with women that are going through a really difficult time in their life, and I am just amazed and strengthened and just inspired by what they do. And it's a very personal subject to me. My mother-in-law, Jason's mother, she passed away from breast cancer 21 years ago. She was about my age, and she had been battling this for over 10 years. And it ultimately, at that time, they didn't have the treatments that they have now. And so this is very dear to my heart.
Women wear a lot of hats. So aside from the hat of wife and mother, what is a hat you wear?
Well, I would say, I think being a friend, being a good friend and a confidant. I think in life you're really lucky if you are able to have one good friend and call someone a good friend, but you have to be a good friend to have a good friend.
Do you have a life mantra or words or a phrase that you kind of shape your life around or live by?
The best advice they gave me was to be flexible. And I kept that in my mind through these past years. I thought, that is so important because things happen last minute. His job is very fluid. It's always moving. And so if I count on him to be at something, and something comes up and he can't be there, I have a choice to make. I can either be upset about it and be frustrated, and then that spills over into our family, or I can be flexible and say, okay, he can't make it to this, but he can make it to that.
As you look back over your life, is there a turn you took or a decision you made that you look back and think, I'm so glad I did that?
You know, there is. And this goes back to quite a few years ago. And I'm really glad that I said no to the first time Jason tried to ask me out.
Because?
Well, it wasn't the right time. Timing's everything. And when he approached me again a year later, I was in a position to accept that and to move forward in our relationship, and so was he.
So when life gets challenging, life gets hard, you're under a lot of pressure and stress, what do you do?
Well, the things that are most important to me are my family and my faith. And those are the two things that They're who I am. They define me. They define my family. And those are the most important things. And when we can make time for that, that's when everything goes well.
And when does the sun shine the brightest for Julie Chaffetz? When are you the happiest?
I'm happiest when I'm with my family. That's the best time. It's because that time is so precious.
I really enjoyed chatting with Julie. She's a woman who obviously has a very strong foundation, and that allows her, I think, to trust, was my observation. Trust in the timing. You heard her talk about that. Trust her husband when he needs to come and go as he does, and trust her role as mother, and in some cases that role of running that household when her husband is away. I also love when a woman's home reflects her heart, and that was very much the case. Warm, inviting, very friendly, very open, very kind.